Hey guys, Frank in the shop here with McKenna again. We are now on part 4 of our 4-part series on marketing and sponsorship in motorsports. So McKenna, we've concluded our meeting now. Talk to us a little bit about how we should follow up with our potential partners.
Absolutely. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. I would say, first off, as a side note, one type of follow-up you might want to do is if you didn't get the meeting in the first place, you might want to continue following up with them to either try and get a meeting or just kind of stay in contact. If you did get the meeting, you had a great pitch and everything went well. It kind of depends on how the meeting went. Sometimes they'll give you an answer right on the spot and they'll say, we'd like to sponsor you at this level, which is great. That's wonderful. If not, they might say, well, we're going to get back to you, or we'd like to think about it and get back to you. And so if their answer was that they need time to think about it, give them no more than 2 weeks. If you don't hear from them, definitely follow up, maybe after 1 week and then again after 2. Typically, if you got a meeting, though, you should probably hear back pretty soon. If that wasn't the case, if they did do the deal right there and said, this is what we want to do, there's a couple different ways you can go about it. One of the more professional ways would be to drop a contract. And so it's really good to state everything that they're going to get from you in this contract so that you don't get to the end of the season and they say, well, you didn't fulfill all these obligations. So having something that you can both agree on and sign is pretty important. And the other thing would be also to send an invoice too. And so if they stated what amount, just ask, is it okay if I send an invoice following the meeting? And then just, there's different templates you can use online for invoices, and send them a professional invoice that's to be paid within 30 days or so in order to get the check. And so that's kind of the best way to follow up. And then after that would be delivering on your sponsorship.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about that. So say we've actually sealed the deal, we've got the check, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So how do I go about delivering on what I had proposed in the first place?
Absolutely. So actually, just a quick side note, Frank, that you brought up that was good is the check itself. If you don't have an LLC set up for your race team, I would highly recommend it if you find that relevant. And so if you do start getting deals and you've never kind of done this type of thing, you're probably not going to want people just writing checks to you or your parents or whoever. Right. So maybe have an LLC set up, and you also might want to consider opening a post office box too, for like a separate mailing address for your company. So now with the delivery, so now you have your contract and you have the check, whatever is in that contract, or even if you don't have a contract, whatever you discuss, you want to make sure that you do follow through with that. And so a great way to lose a sponsor is to just take their money and run. And so definitely make sure that you try your best to satisfy their needs, but also be firm and make sure that you're not getting taken advantage of for the value that they came on board with. So for example, if somebody gives you $100 and that's your associate package and not your primary package, definitely fulfill their needs. You want to make them feel just as important as any sponsor on the race car, but you also don't want to give them all the value that a primary package would get if that's not the package that they purchased. And so another great reason to be upfront with your obligations, and then just make sure that they're fulfilled. So definitely try and make sure that there are stickers on every race car if you have multiple, and you wouldn't want them to come to the race and their logo's not on the car or something like that. And then also just making sure that you're including them in your social media posts or including them in your shout outs that you give your sponsors. If you have a driver profile on a certain track website or series website, making sure that they're listed there and keeping that type of stuff up to date. And then also like staying in touch with them. And so it can be easy to sometimes talk to your sponsors twice a year, once when you're doing the pitch at the beginning of the year and then once when you're thanking them at the end of the year. And so try to find a way to maybe stay in contact with them throughout the year. One of the greatest things you can give your sponsors is your time, honestly. So even just stopping by their business and just dropping by to say hi, and you don't need anything, just wanted to see them, or even ask if they need anything from you. Another thing that you can do though, which is different kind of from what I talked about earlier with you don't want to get taken advantage of, but it is okay to over deliver too. And so maybe you're bringing a new sponsor on board and you really want them to have a great experience. It is okay to over-deliver and to maybe give them a little bit bigger decal and kind of show them what you can offer them that maybe would make them be interested in moving up a level the following season. And so that's another thing. And then when you get to the end of the year, and even throughout the year, make sure that they are thanked consistently. Your sponsors want to feel appreciated, and they do make a big difference, even if it's a smaller sponsor or bigger sponsor. Everything adds up, no matter the team. And so making sure that you're thanking them and supporting them too. If they have charities that they support or different events that they're doing, making sure that you're participating in those, and then thanking them at the end of the year. Give them an appropriate gift to thank them, and kind of start the whole process over again next year and reach back out to them, not at the time that you're thanking them, but later on, and seeing if they're interested in partnering with you again the following year.
You know, I know you've done a lot of work in seeking partners. You've talked to a ton of people. Can you touch a little bit on just some of the relationships you've been able to create through your marketing?
Oh man, so many. I'm super grateful. That's easily my favorite part of my partnerships, is just simply the relationships. I can't even describe just the friendships that I've been able to form. I was thinking about this past week, actually. I was leaving a sponsor location, you know, and we were like almost in tears, actually, just at how much we've been through together as partners. You know, when my partners sit down with me, we talk about, you know, both of our goals, and not only just with racing, but even beyond that, and just our lives and everything. And so if I'm successful on the track, it's not just my accomplishment, it truly is their accomplishment, because we sat down and talked about how we're going to get there together, and how can we bring in both of our connections to try and reach our goals. And so that's when you know you have a great partnership, when you guys are equally excited about succeeding. And also, you know, if something bad happens, I've had deals fall through, or different, you know, rides fall through, or different things like that my partners were on board with, you know, and for me to be able to go to them and be honest about that, and then for them to say, okay, that's okay, like, you know, let's just pivot, you know, and just being able to pivot with them is really important. And I feel like across the board, even in terms of dollar value, it's not about the money. It's, you know, it's really not. I have great relationships with all of my partners, no matter the level, and they all matter, because at the end of the day, they're, you know, they can put their money in a lot of locations. And so for them to partner with a race team is really special, not only for me, but also for the sport. And the same goes for anybody else. If you're bringing new people into the sport, that's pretty special, considering they could be involved in any sport or activity. And so I started getting sponsors when I was 13, going door to door, and there are sponsors on my car today that were there from day one, and that they still talk about me walking in with my little suit and briefcase when I was just a kid. And then here we are, we've kind of moved up the levels together. And so I think that that's something to not lose sight of, is that these are people you're dealing with just like you, and they have feelings and emotions too. And so if you can care about them as people beyond just a business deal, then the rest will fall into place.
McKenna, that's so awesome. I just have to say, we greatly appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come visit with us. That's going to conclude our 4-part series on marketing and sponsorship in motorsports. I hope you enjoyed all this information that we had to share, and thank you for watching.